11Tenths Racecraft.
His car got probably, I'd say, the most attention out of anyone there in our booth, at least. Which that says a lot right there. So without further ado, we'll tap into Brad.
So my car is a 1999 Civic Type R Spoon clone. Basically meaning that is in 1999 we never got an EK9 Type R available in Canada. So I've basically mechanically replicated the Civic Type R with all the spoon goods. So mechanically wise, except for the 1.8 liter instead of the 1.6 liter, it's all mechanically the same. The only difference is I wasn't able to change the thicker sheet metal in certain areas that Honda added them to the true EK9s. So I bought the car originally, the sales agreement was for August 12th, 1999, which happens to turn out to be a really good buddy's birthday of mine. And I purchased the car new. I drove it up until 2012 as a daily driver in light forms of modification. And then in 2012, I took the car off the road and basically started the full restoration to turn it into the Spoon clone. However, though, over the years, I knew that this is what I wanted to do, so I had started to collect all the Spoon parts since the early 2000s, which was very good because now a lot of them have gotten astronomically expensive compared to what they were due to the limited amount that they were built back in the day. Well, there's a good example, like the cluster right away, like it's amongst the community, you know, that the Spoon EK9 cluster is probably one of the rarest parts for that chassis, which, you know, they started out back, you know, like 10 years ago, you could get one for $2,500. Now there's rumors, you know, that ones have sold for up to where it's $10,000 US, and that's because they're limited. I'm not sure the exact numbers that they were built in, but it's like everything nowadays, and you know, plus you throw in COVID pricing and everything's got astronomically expensive over the last little bit. So the standard EK9 cluster, and then you have the Spoon cluster. They were both made in the same factory, which is, you know, part of the reason why I went like Spoon is they did work so closely with Honda to improve upon the original chassis, the feel, and, you know, and the durability and whatnot. And yeah, so the Spoon cluster has the 11,000 red line. It's got the green needles. You know, it's got the different faces. Well, some of the parts, like, I would be interested in if I could find it. They made a battery tray for the small race batteries. And I can't even at the moment know exactly how much they sell for because they're so kind of rare that very few of them come up, or as in a lot of this stuff it's traded amongst people that already have like a car or parts, like, you know, that's like the thing. Some of these parts are rare, so they're, you know, it's like farmland. It's not necessarily just sold on the market. It's done by, you know, handshake deals, and, you know, sometimes, you know somebody that has a part that you want, and you wait like maybe months for them to be ready to part with it, or in cases years, just like with a lot of the parts. Even when you bought them brand new, sometimes you waited 6, 8, 12 months for them to show up to come from Japan. Before I got into Hondas, I really wanted a Euro. I really wanted a Mark II Volkswagen GTI 16 valve, but, you know, I was a young kid, had a decent job, I could afford the car, and then I called up insurance, and they basically shut me down because whatever year that would have been, say maybe around 97 or whatever, I wasn't going to pay like, you know, $3,800 a year for insurance as a young kid. So I you know, didn't get that car. I got a beater first, and then I got a 95. I had a 4-door 95 Civic, and I had that and started to modify it a little bit. And then unfortunately, I ended up in an accident, and that car got written off, which led to building the Spoon car. So the Spoon part comes into it is I really love the Euros, how they were a lot of at the time were OEM plus. And the Hondas at that time it was the days of the crazy Wings West kits, like, you know, that Dark Knight style, like crazy mod, which is great. Like, I love what people are doing when they do their own thing. It just wasn't for me. So I really loved how Spoon was like the OEM plus. They worked with like Honda, just like Mugen has, works with Honda. So it was kind of an extension of we have a good Honda platform, and now we've taken that little bit more. They were really big into the endurance racing over in Japan at the time, which I've always liked endurance racing more than say drag racing. The fact that the parts were made, like some of them were made in the actual factory, like Spoon's the type of company that they used to take skids of pistons, Honda factory pistons, and then sort them all so that they would be, within tighter specs of tolerance with each other, and so on. It was the quality. And then also too, back in like the late 90s like that, you had your really good companies from Japan that made, that were supposed to be the best of the best parts. And at that time, there wasn't a lot of like decent made American parts. And in some ways, at that time, the American companies, North American companies were shunned away from, making headers and stuff like that. So I'd have to say that probably my favorite part is the braking system that I have on that car, which is a full EK9 swap 5-lug conversion with the larger disc brakes in the rear, as mine didn't come with it factory, being a DX at the time that I bought it, and then with the Spoon front calipers and Spoon pads, and I've got Stop Tech rotors. And it's just phenomenal. It's like you can push so deep, you can brake so hard. It's how I can catch up in my little car that's underpowered today to most modern cars. It's like how you have your fun, because it's so light, you can go longer, deeper into the corners. Makes for fun trail braking. So, and on track, I love it. Like everybody seems to say, I go for a lapping day, it looks like I'm having the most fun, because it's a car, like it has a decent amount of power for its power to weight ratio, so you can go out and you can really drive it really hard. It like gets around, it'll get like squirrely, I've had it properly set up by Scott at Can Alignment, so it handles really well. Like it's fun, like you go into a corner, you trail brake, you start to feel the back coming in, and you just put that foot to the floor and you just pull yourself out. And of course it's it's a B series, so you'd always like a little bit more torque, a little bit more power when you're coming out of that. And then, it's just the one thing I also love about the car too is, and I think everybody that loves Hondas loves it, is the VTEC. It goes from that kind of sane to like, and it doesn't matter. You can be doing 50 kilometers an hour, and when the VTEC comes in, it's party time. So my favorite drive is basically any drive in that car out in the country. You get a little bit of windy roads, because also too, when I just go on like a cruise like that in the country, you're in a car that I've owned, it was 21 years in August, and you've owned it, and you go on this sometimes like this emotional ride of the memories. Like, you go and you pick up certain things, the people, all the different events that you've gone to, and then it's like everything you're kind of known as that person that has this because you've had it for so long. So in a way it becomes like an extension, and then it's like, I'm sure like most of us, you go out and you go for that ride, and in that moment you're in the zone, and whatever, you can be, driving down the road, and just you're there, and then it's over 20 years of like progress of collecting, and it's been a labor of love for sure. The car, the radio, that's just a small part of it. Like all the creature comforts are gone. There's no air conditioning, the radio's removed, there's no power steering, there's no power windows. It's like a true full analog experience, which you don't really get in this day anymore, in this technological world that you get, like I first, like when I got the car done the restoration, I go over to a friend's house, and his kids are there, and they're like 6 to 10 years old or whatever, and they're looking at the door and they don't even know what a window winder is anymore, because everybody just pushes a button. So it really takes it back to that time, which is now like known as the golden era of Honda. And then the the reduction of everything, including the stereo, is to be as light as possible. You know, it's that theme of the golden era of that type of, like, you know, the endurance racing, making every little thing as light as possible, tweaking your little street car, you know what I mean? Ditching the radio so you save that little bit of much. So hopefully that BMW doesn't quite pull you quite as hard down the straight anymore. So the exterior is basically cloned to be an EK9. It has an EK9 front lip. The rear lip, I've gone with the thinner JDM side moldings. I have the EK9 mirrors along with some spoon mirrors, and then I have the carbon fiber hood. And I would say that the outside of it is for me, the favorite part is the championship white paint. I love that color of white. I've always been a fan of white cars, and I like how in a lot of ways my car looks understated. I don't mind that sometimes people don't realize what's going on and just walk by at a car show, but the people that do know. So my version of the restoration and my idea was, over the years as I daily drove it, and the reason why I did not put all the brand new spoon parts back on it as I collected it is I always had a vision that I would restore the car someday and then put all the new parts on at once. And then over the years, this kind of took on more of a life than I ever expected, because originally I thought, you know, you just go buy a Type R swap from one of the JDM importers, but I was lucky enough to have the means, and I had a little bit of a connection at Honda, and I was able to purchase, luckily before they were all discontinued, I purchased a brand new B18C5 from Honda. I purchased a brand new Type R transmission from IBC Motorsports, and to the best of my ability, when the parts were still available new, I did it. I bought, like, you know, a couple $1,000s worth of bolts and stuff from Honda to do it, like, because I'd had the car for so long and I knew that I wanted to keep it. I did my absolute best to basically turn it into like a brand new car. So next, basically I have planned for the car is to enjoy it and drive it a lot, and perfect my end of the deal, the driving of it, you know, start to master the craft of putting that thing around the track, you know, put in some better lap times. I mean, I like everything, they're never finished. You have a few things. I went over a turtle this year and cracked my header, so I got to think about whether I replace the spoon header or maybe I go with something a little bit different with a Toda header or whatever. And yeah, and then I would also like to do a little bit of upgrades to the interior, replace a few of the plastic pieces that are a little bit more what I consider to be on the worn side, you know. And then yeah, one day it would be nice to strip it all apart again and put it on the rotisserie and do like a perfect body. But then I don't know, then maybe it won't be a driver, because and at the end of the day, that's what I want to do with it now, is enjoy it and drive it in the rain, get it dirty, you know, take it places and enjoy it, because I think that's what cars are meant to be for. I don't know how, you know, to each their own, but I don't know how you can invest so much time and energy and money into something like that and then not go out and enjoy it for what they are meant to be used for. And then also too, just take it out and let everybody see what is now, at the time you would have never known when I was doing this back in the day, but now it's been dubbed the golden era of Honda tuning for its time. So if you're interested more in the car, check out the description below, and who knows, maybe we'll see you out at a car show. I'm more than welcome to show you the car, and if we're at a lapping day, I don't mind taking you for a ride along. If you like, comment.
Yep.